Good morning and thank you for joining us on Newsline from Monday, September 8th, 2014. You're with me, Surabhan Lautharanarit. Welcome to today's segment of Thailand Moves Forward, broadcasting live on NBT and Radio Thailand FM 88. In today's top story, Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha is adamant the first cabinet meeting will take place on September 9th. Now on to today's headlines. The Prime Minister says a crackdown on corruption is an urgent issue that must be added to the national agenda and be considered central to each category of reform. Prime Minister General Prayut Chan-o-cha gave a speech on National Anti-Corruption Day, saying that the government and the National Council for Peace and Order, or NCPO, have come to a conclusion that a corruption crackdown required the cooperation from all sectors. In particular, each process of the public bureaucracy must be transparent. No one should be neglectful of the problem of corruption. If that aim is achieved, the nation will step forward very rapidly indeed. The event was set up to help the public better understand the impact of corruption and to urge all agencies to prevent and eliminate such problems from society. Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha is adamant the first cabinet meeting will take place on September 9th as preparations are being made for the government policy declaration. After having led the cabinet members to pledge their allegiance to His Majesty the King, General Prayut reiterated that the cabinet would convene for the first time tomorrow, as expected earlier, with a view to discussing and planning out the government's overall administrative policy. The Premier said he was coordinating with responsible authorities of the National Legislative Assembly to set a date on which the government policy would be delivered. In his capacity as Chief of the National Council for Peace and Order, or NCPO, General Prayut made known that the NCPO would soon pass on the administrative power to the cabinet and would instead assume a role of coordinator. Among the priorities of the NCPO would be the promotion of the Thai economy, especially in the agricultural, industrial, and tourism sectors, development of the country in parallel with the ASEAN community's establishment, and restoration of national stability. General Prayut has expressed his appreciation to all who have applied for a seat in the National Reform Council, or NRC. During his weekly program, Returning Happiness to the People, General Prayut said that he is really appreciative of the large number of people expressing desire to become one of the 250 members of the NRC. The Prime Minister said he has urged members of the NRC Selection Committee to identify qualified and capable individuals who will play an important part in shaping the future of Thailand. To those who do not make it into the NRC, General Prayut said he will look for opportunities to work with them in other ways. He also called on the country to refrain from further protest or conflict and to help restore foreign investor confidence, while showing the world Thailand's potential in all respects, but particularly in the industrial and tourism sectors. In addition, he stressed that the government alone cannot take care of all issues concerning the country, which still needs further and continued development, which calls for cooperation from all sectors to help strengthen Thailand's economy. The National Reform Council, or NRC, selection committees will start working one day earlier than planned, according to the Election Commission, or EC. EC Secretary General Puchong Nutrawong said that all 11 NRC selection committees have decided to move the start of the work schedule up one day from September 13th to September 12th due to the large number of applicants. All committees are scheduled to finish the selection process by September 22nd. Meanwhile, the provincial level selection committees, except for Bangkok, will only meet a few times to complete their tasks, as there have not been that many applicants to consider. Mr. Puchong added that the selection process will be conducted in such a way that General Prayut Chan-o-cha, the Prime Minister, and the National Council for Peace and Order leader has called for, that is, cautious, transparent, fair, and diversified. According to available information, so far there have been more than 7,300 people vying to sit in the 250-member National Reform Council. But the official number is expected to be announced within today. The President of the National Legislative Assembly, or NLA, has sent out an invitation to all members to the sittings on September 11th to discuss the NLA's meeting regulations. NLA President Pornphet Vichit Cholachai invited members of the NLA to discuss this Thursday the regulations of the meetings, which the responsible committee had already reviewed. The scheduled meeting will also look at 5 drafts of laws proposed by General Prayut Chan-o-cha, including laws on international air cargo, aviation-related misconducts, international land transport, skilled labor development, and weight and measures. All the 5 drafts were once scheduled for deliberation in the September 5th meeting, which was cancelled, as the new cabinet had yet to make an official government policy address before the NLA, although it had taken an oath of allegiance to His Majesty the King. The city of Bangkok is getting ready for possible floods after the inundation has hit many parts in Upper Thailand. Hmom Rachawong Sukhumpan Boripat, the governor of Bangkok, has called on a meeting with city officials to prepare measures to deal with possible flooding, as heavy floods and inundation have hit several areas in the country. The meeting was arranged to assess an expected rise in sea tide during the end of this month. The Bangkok governor said the city hall is now equipped with 116 water pumps and has readied 217 water gates, 222 wells, and 7 water tunnels, with a combined capacity to discharge 155 cubic meters of water per second. He added that other equipment to facilitate the release of excess water and a flood control center under the City Hall are also on standby. Hmom Rachawong Sukhumpan went on to say that the overall situation remains far from worrying, as the water levels in the Phumipon Dam, the Sirikit Dam, and the Pasak Cholasit Dam remain at 30 to 40% of their capacity, which is below average, while the surge in sea tide is expected to peak only in November. Nevertheless, he has assured the Department of Drainage and Sewerage to remain vigilant until October, as more rain is still forecast. Residents in the upper part of Thailand and along the coastal region have been warned to watch out for possible heavy rain and flash flood. The Meteorological Department reported that a strong monsoon trough over the north and the northeast of Thailand, along with the moderate southwest monsoon over the Andaman Sea and the Gulf of Thailand, are causing scattered showers in 60 to 80% of the country. It also warned of heavy rains in various provinces, including Mae Hong Son, Chiang Mai, Chiang Rai, Phrae, Uttaradit, พิษณุโลก เพชรบูรณ์ เลย หนองบัวลำพู อุดรธานี ชัยภูมิ อุบลราชธานี สระแก้ว จันทบุรี and ตราด Residents of these provinces have been asked to beware of possible flash floods. Meanwhile, the Royal Irrigation Department and the Meteorological Department have jointly assessed the overall situation and predicted that the monsoon trough in the north would soon move downward to the central region, where a low-pressure area is present. The Interior Ministry held a seminar on budget spending and transparency for elected members of 81 local administration offices from 44 provinces. Presided over by Permanent Secretary of the Interior Ministry, Wiboon Sangwon-pong, the seminar was aimed at educating the newly elected local administration officials about the public services management. The meeting highlighted the decentralized approach to budget spending and budget planning with strong emphasis on transparency, in line with the policies of the government and the National Council for Peace and Order. Meanwhile, Director General of the Department of Local Administration, Wanlop Pringprong, said he was confident that the attendees would effectively administer their respective areas in accordance with the law. He said cooperation between local administration offices and related governmental units would be forged to ensure uninterrupted rural area development. According to the Commerce Ministry, the number of newly registered businesses last month declined by 18%, thanks to the tightening of regulations involved in the registering of new businesses for lottery ticket vending and broadcast-related businesses. The Director General of the Department of Business Development, Pongpan Jirawiryaphan, stated that the number of businesses registered last month was 5,200, adding that the majority of those were businesses in the real estate and food vending sectors. That figure contributed to the total number of businesses registered during the first 8 months of this year, which was 40,000, a decrease of 18% compared to the same period last year. However, making the same comparison for the value of the business sees this year's total value of newly registered businesses reach 27 billion baht, a whopping 62% jump. Ms. Pongpan said that this number indicates improved sentiment among investors and entrepreneurs, while attributing the positive factors to the establishment of the new cabinet, which led to a recovery of confidence among business owners, investors, and consumers. The Thai Rice Exporters Association has reported Thailand now exports more rice than India and Vietnam, with a high possibility to reclaim the position of the world's #1 rice exporter. President of the Thai Rice Exporters Association, Police Lieutenant Jareun Lauthamathat, said the Thai rice export situation substantially improved with a 25% increase in value. Thai rice exports rose mainly due to cooperation between the government and private sectors in promoting Thai rice in foreign markets and managing rice stock effectively. Thailand exported 5.3 million tons of rice over the past 6 months, increasing by 70%. The association's president also suggested the government to discontinue the rice pledging program, which had made domestic rice price higher than the global market by as much as 50%. Police Lieutenant Jareun predicted that Thailand would export 9 to 10 million tons of rice by the end of 2014 and become the world's #1 rice exporter again. The latest survey by an online French magazine has voted Thailand a top destination for senior holidaymakers. Deputy Governor of the Tourism Authority of Thailand, or TAT, Sukri Sithiwanit, said that Thailand remains a popular destination for overseas travelers, particularly among the elderly from France. Mr. Sukri said that information from the website retreetranger.fr, which focuses on post-retirement lifestyles in other countries, and an online magazine, l'express.fr, shows that Thailand is amongst the top 5 destinations for senior French citizens who have retired from work. The survey stated that those who voted for Thailand said the country had offered them a new life experience, said the TAT deputy governor. In addition, an article published by the HuffingtonPost.com titled "The World's 7 Most Retiree-Friendly Nations" said that Thailand is among the countries that have made it convenient for overseas retirees to spend their post-retirement time abroad, such as the visa program for long-stay visitors. In today's segment of Now or Never, Dr. Yongyut Mayalab, the spokesperson of the National Council for Peace and Order, or NCPO, will talk about the NCPO's reform plan in the area of local administration. Let's have a look.
สวัสดีครับ Welcome to Now or Never, the program that updates you on the policies and developments of the National Council for Peace and Order, or NCPO. The time is now for all Thais to unite, to move the country forward, and to push for reform in all dimensions to strengthen Thailand in a sustainable way. The NCPO would like to ask for cooperation from local administrative organizations, sub-district administration organizations, provincial administration organizations, and village headmen, as they are groups closest to the people and therefore most important. There have been comments about abolishing local administrations. The NCPO would like to reiterate that this matter has never been considered. Instead, this type of issue should be discussed in the National Reform Council. There are many issues like this which cannot be resolved or addressed by a single order from the NCPO. The only action that the NCPO could take would be to amend some regulations in order to facilitate work or to better take into consideration current circumstances. Local administrations should proceed with their projects according to their own budget plans. They should also have a strategic plan of what needs to be done in the first year, such as repairing roads or renovating schools. Other renovations could then be done in the second year, while new construction projects can be planned for implementation during the third year, and so on. Formulation of long-term plans of 5 or 10 years for your area of responsibility are necessary. If your budget is not sufficient, you can request additional budget from the provincial level or central level, where ministries, bureaus, or departments can provide assistance. If there's still a budget shortage, the central budget can ultimately cover the difference. So there are now 3 levels of budgetary sources for local administrations should the existing local budget be not sufficient. Given this, the process would also act as an effective check and balance system. The NCPO considers it important to reduce conflicts of interest and the use of influence within the area. However, it is up to the local authorities to stop such conflicts. The NCPO has never given any instruction to the National Legislative Assembly and the National Reform Council on any predetermined reform goal. The NCPO intends to maintain the peace and order and move the country forward. It is up to all Thai people to find long-term solutions. Therefore, the NCPO would like to encourage all sectors in Thai society to make use of their ideas and capabilities to jointly resolve the problems in all dimensions. สวัสดีครับ
And that's the end of today's edition of Thailand Moves Forward. Before we take a quick break, let's take a look at the exchange rates and commodity prices.
Open the world of information. Embrace public participation. Present Thainess to the world. New dimension of the government's public relations. The 81st anniversary of Public Relations Department, Creative Media for Society, and mobilizing Thailand towards the ASEAN community.
Welcome back to Newsline. Now let's take a look at what's happening around the globe. A woman died and at least 4 people were wounded when fighting flared again in eastern Ukraine overnight into Sunday, jeopardizing a ceasefire struck less than 2 days earlier between Ukrainian government forces and pro-Russian separatists. Shelling resumed near the port of Mariupol on the Sea of Azov late on Saturday night, just hours after Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian counterpart Petro Poroshenko had agreed in a phone call that the truce was holding. Fighting also broke out early yesterday on the northern outskirts of rebel-held Donetsk, the region's industrial hub. A reporter saw plumes of black smoke filling the sky near the airport, which has been in the hands of government forces. Later last night, a witness reported several mortar blasts within the city confines of Donetsk. They damaged a bridge where the rebels had erected a roadblock. The death toll from serious flooding in Indian-administered Kashmir climbed to 175 on Sunday, with homes, military bases, and hospitals inundated in the region's main city, Srinagar, as the Jhelum River overflowed its banks. Prime Minister Narendra Modi flew over the Kashmir Valley, a mainly Muslim region with a history of separatist violence. The worst flooding there in 60 years has submerged villages and ruined crops. Although heavy rains abated on Saturday afternoon, floodwaters rose sharply overnight in Srinagar, a city of 900,000, catching many people living in low-lying areas unaware. Meanwhile, nearly 170 people have been killed in Pakistan after heavy rains brought flash floods and destroyed homes. The scale of the inundation has prompted the Pakistan Army to step in and carry out rescue operations. High levels of waters in the Chenab River have threatened to submerge the town of Hafizabad in the province of Punjab. The Punjab government has also decided to declare flood emergency and expedite relief activities in the face of floods and torrential rains. Around 600 vertical marathon enthusiasts across the world raced up Beijing's tallest building yesterday, running up a total of 2,041 steps to a height of 330 meters. Runners from over 20 countries ascended 82 floors to the helipad on the rooftop of the China World Summit Wing Hotel in Beijing yesterday morning. Race participants were teamed up according to gender and running ability. They were also divided into individual and group teams. 29-year-old Piotr Lobodinsky from Poland was the first to break the tape this year. Defending champion Susie Walsham from Australia won first place in the women's group, finishing in 11 minutes and 50 seconds. And that's a wrap for today's edition of Newsline. For any comments or suggestions, please feel free to email us at newsline.nbt@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook. Simply type in NNT or check out our website at thainews.prd.go.th/newsing. And for now, we're going to say goodbye with a giant rabbit that has been put on show ahead of the Chinese Mid-Autumn Festival in Taiwan. I'm Surapan Lautharanarit. Thank you for joining us and have a great day. สวัสดีครับ